The 8th week in Parliament for this meeting is upon us, and this is the chamber where we serve you all you need to know about what has been transpiring in Parliament in the course of this week under review. My name is Mensah Opoku. There is more when we come back from this break. The National Security and Intelligence Agency's bill, as well as the comments that many members of Parliament have had to make about the selection of Professor Naana Opoku-Agyemang as the running mate for the candidate John Mahama for the 2020 election for the NDC are some of the main issues that have dominated, discussions in and around Parliament this week. For more on what has been transpiring, here's the recap. Flag bearer of the NDC for the 2020 election, John Mahama, on Monday, July 6th, named Professor Naana Opoku-Agyemang as the running mate for the party's electoral ticket. Reacting to candidate Mahama's choice in Parliament, the Swami MP questioned the value of the former education minister to the electoral fortunes of the NDC.
We have some women of some demonstrable competence who have risen through this house to establish themselves firmly in the firmament. One such person could be Hannah Tete. She has been a member of Parliament. She was a minister, a foreign affairs minister, and some other area. So he has learned the rules. A former member of Parliament, I thought she could also have complemented the president's ticket. Or another person, the former Attorney General, Marita Opon, I mean, a solid person. I thought she was also coming up strongly. So if you wanted women, even the previous one, the first Attorney General, she had some skeletons. Betty Modidrusu, she had some skeletons relating to Woyomi. Other than that, she's also somebody. But you ask yourself, what value is this woman going to add to that ticket?
Some members of the female caucus shared thoughts on the announcement.
She's worked as a minister before. We all saw her. If for nothing at all, we all remember the issue of absenteeism, which she reduced so drastically. You could see how she went around. We can all remember the schools, the community day schools, secondary schools, senior secondary schools that have been built. They were all under her. The computers for basic schools, they were all. She went around. I am from the Upper East, one of the furthest regions in Ghana, from Accra. She's been to all those places. She suddenly visited schools to know what is going on. How do you talk about someone's expertise if the person has thought of these things? And if she has gone around and she has been able to work with teachers, why do we suppose that she cannot do that way?
It is something positive for women in politics and in decision making. We have always pushed that we need to see more women at the highest level of decision making. So this time, the NDC, as a major political party, has chosen a woman as the running mate to their presidential candidate. It is a good step. As women, we all welcome it. She's qualified. In all the terms, she's qualified to be a running mate for the highest office of the land. So I'd like to congratulate her, but we also recognize that this is not the first time. We have the former First Lady, Mrs. Agyemang Rawlings, actually puts herself up for the highest office.
On the floor of the House, the Majority Leader withdrew and relayed the National Security and Intelligence Agency's bill. The Minority Leader, Haruna Idrisu, served notice of an intent to oppose the decision of government to take the bill through a certificate of urgency.
It's not the best for the character and nature of security and intelligence. They just arrest people, keep them, no respect to constitutional provisions. We are not in a revolutionary military era. So this kind of bill must be subjected to public scrutiny, a thorough public scrutiny, and not encouraged to go through agency with suspension of our processes. Thank you. But rightfully, you can direct the committee to look at it. But I'm signaling that there will be objection to this particular issue, security and intelligence. They should go through the process. We should consult the public. What kind of security and intelligence they want to craft.
Your require of agency at the committee is within the powers of the committee. So you can go and make your arguments before the committee. But for now, is referred to the committee. They will report to us what they think.
The Bulk Oil Storage and Transport Company, BOST, and the Ministry of Finance are some state institutions that have adopted different modes of work after recording cases of COVID-19. The Speaker of Parliament on Friday provided justification for the House's decision not to halt the conduct of business. Professor Mensah Opoku indicated that fumigation had been carried out in the House as part of preventive protocols.
We all know one thing. Parliament is not like many other places that you can simply and easily say we have suspended or closed down. Very soon, the Honourable Minister for Finance is going to read the supplementary budget. If Parliament doesn't sit, the country will shut down. There will be no money. It's as simple as that. So as for Parliament, please, let us know we are in a very, very peculiar situation. In fact, government departments can operate in case of emergency separately and individually. Parliament is Parliament. So let us also be very careful about how we manage protocols and matters concerning us. In fact, it looks like it may have to be the last stop. That is Parliament. Otherwise, there is no country. So we are in a very, very critical situation, and we will accept it as such and operate as such.
The ranking member on the Roads and Transport Committee of the House, Gavins Abuja, later cautioned government against renegotiating an agreement with the strategic partner for the management of Terminal 3 of the Kotoka International Airport.
What exactly is a strategic investor bringing? Is it to come and manage it so that maybe the minister and all the directors are not capable of managing it? I don't think at this stage of Ghana's life, we needed a strategic investor to manage an airport. When we can find our own money and build it, we don't need anybody to manage it for us. So whoever is doing the negotiation, we are told there's no agreement yet. So whoever is involved in this strategic discussion, please watch what you are doing, because it may not be in the interest of the people of this country, and they may take a second look at it when government changes.
The minority leader Harry Naidrisu also demanded neutrality from security agencies deployed to parts of the country in relation to the ongoing voter registration exercise.
We have received reports of intimidation and harassment in some instances, particularly in the Volta region, of the military even entering houses and asking persons questions. Our caution to the Ghana Police Service and to the Ghana Armed Forces is that they should stay neutral as a state institution and work to secure the peace, stability, and security of our country, and that partisan politics is not their calling. They should not allow themselves to be used for that purpose. Therefore, all acts of intimidation and harassment by members of the Ghana Armed Forces and the Ghana Police Service must cease henceforth.
Deputy Minister of Defence, Major Retired Derek Odro, however, disagrees with the minority.
Sages have never taken sides in any political endeavor. If yesterday they did not take sides, today why should they take sides? Ever since soldiers were deployed at the border, last year, 2019, nobody complained. Have we forgotten that Honorable Okudjeto-Abrakwa, chairman, no, the ranking member for Foreign Affairs, requested the Interior Minister to come and brief the House on the steps that he has taken to ensure that terrorists will not near this country to attack us. Whilst they were attacking Burkina Faso, Niger, Mali, and the other nearby countries, the Interior Minister came here and said that troops have been deployed at the borders since 2019. They have been there.
The House adopted a report of the Defense and Interior Committee on the urgency of the Security and Intelligence Agencies Bill. So you saw there the major issues, the major stories making headlines in Parliament this week. We'll take a break here. When I come back, there is more on the Chamber. Hello and welcome back from the break. This is the From the Floor segment on the Chamber right here on City TV. Today I have with me the Honourable Member of Parliament for Mpraia, so is Chairman of the Defence and Interior Committee of Parliament. I also have the Honourable Gavin Kwame Agbodza, MP for Adaklu and Ranking Member on the Roads and Transport Committee. There are a lot of issues that have come up this week on the floor of Parliament, which we would be discussing on the floor of Parliament, as well as other issues that have a bearing on what happens in Parliament and generally our political atmosphere. So I welcome the honourable members and we'll get into the issues that we'll be discussing today on the programme. The Honourable Kwame Agbodza, welcome, sir.
Thank you, Duke.
The Honourable Seth Kwame Champon, welcome.
Thank you, Duke.
Okay, so let's begin with the issue that's probably very, very fresh on our minds, just off the floor of Parliament, the National Security and Intelligence Agencies bill. Today was discussed on the floor of Parliament. Today, the last day of sitting, was discussed on the floor of Parliament. It was laid earlier in the week after I was withdrawn, after I was laid in May. But I want Chairman to briefly tell us what this bill is about and what it seeks to do, even though we're told earlier that it looks at creating district and regional security councils. But apart from that, there may be some other issues. What is this bill generally about?
Thank you very much, Duke, for the opportunity to be with your team and my brother, Kwame. This bill is trying to enhance the original bill we enacted in this house in 1996, where we had a Fair Security and Intelligence Agencies Act 526. I just have to recall. I think it's Act 526 that we've been working with so far till today. In this dispensation, the Fourth Republic democracy we're running in Ghana, we gradually maturing, and as part of public safety measures, we ought to review the existing architecture. And so the legal regime that is governing security at the moment, we're looking, as security is very dynamic and it improves by the day, it is prudent that as a country we also live within the times that we are in. People will talk cutting edge systems. Today, for instance, it has not been said, but the pandemic threat is a threat of national security to our country. So all these matters are new things that we have to draw our minds to and ensure that we as a people have a good architecture to protect ourselves. The very bill we are having today is before us for a couple of reasons, and those ones is before us. We're going to discuss it totally at committee. What you really witnessed us doing today, and like you earlier said, the bill was introduced to the House in May and it had been gazetted and it was seized with the committee. And this is not the first time. We could be working on a bill, and in the process of working on it, something could crop up which is quite germane and would warrant a withdrawal. In this instance, we had to withdraw and clean and come back. Now, this meeting in this session of Parliament has got not more than 4 weeks left to meet. And the entire legislative process, by our rules and the Constitution, we have to gazette a new bill for it to mature at the Gazette for 14 days. And it was seized with a committee. We had discussed it, we had met with stakeholders. Let me give a bit of history. This, I think, amendment commenced with the National Security Ministry in 2017. They invited us leadership, extended leadership of the House, i.e. leadership of the committee, into stakeholder engagement. It's been ongoing, and it is now before Parliament. And so we are now seized with it. So we're just in the process of inviting other stakeholders. Then some of the earlier stakeholders we met drew our attention to a couple of issues, and we felt they were germane. So we drew the attention of the proponents, and they said, okay, then we need to really work on it. So they took it away. Now, bringing it back, when it was late this week, if we allowed it to go through the normal process of legislation, that's the true legislative process here, we'd have to wait until the government press grants us the 2 weeks leave where it's been gazetted and advertised fully before the minister can come to the House and lay a new bill before us. But we normally say we are masters of our own rules, and we appreciate some of these things. The matter that is before us, we were working on, it's not too alien to us. They are not germane. It's just about 52 clauses. And so we said, okay, if that be the case, let us go by our rules. And so we decided to apply that rule so that it could offer us the opportunity to work at it. I very well chose the language well. Order 119 says you have to take it through a certificate of urgency, and it may, the instructive word is may, it is not shall. So that's why I said we are masters of our own rules. Looking at it, we can't use a day to complete it.
But the question that has always been on the minds of the minority, and we'll come back to that, is whether the time frame within which we want to take it through will allow for the relevant consultation to be done. Looking at how important this bill is, and I'll bring in the Honorable Kwame Abuja here. I think getting to the end of the debate, he made that point quite clear. But earlier, when the matter was when the bill was withdrawn and relayed on the first day of sitting this week, the minority leader had cause to raise that issue again. Why is the minority against, if I may put it that way, the taking of this bill through a certificate of urgency, even though it's already been adopted, a report?
Well, thank you very much, Duke, and I thank my very good friend, Kwame, as a namesake, for sharing the platform with me. Thank City TV for this. I think much of what he said is apt. The existing laws governing national security is outdated. Much of what are eminent threats or things we see today were not apparent at the time the law was made. On the floor, I said that, for instance, anybody carrying a yam phone around your village tells you he's national security operative and he's going around doing all sorts of things. He also cited example of COVID. It's a national security threat. Our economy is being affected and our movement and everything. So we need to have an architecture of a law that gives leadership the opportunity to do this. I am sure if COVID can be classified a national security threat, even shortage of water, job creation, especially in the youth unemployment, is national security, you would understand that it is very important that the antidote, the panacea that we prescribe to deal with these things should be far-reaching in the sense that it shouldn't be rushed. Okay. Indeed, he said that the bill was laid quite some time ago. They started working on it and needed to withdraw it. My problem with the process is that it didn't start with this parliament. When parliament starts, you will notice that in the beginning, we come to parliament, 30 minutes, 1 hour, we close and go. And we keep saying that ministers with urgent bills should show commitment to those bills, and let's see how they come to work with the House in the beginning. So we don't get to the end of the end like this, and then we are rushing things through. And let me repeat it again. It did not start from 2017 also. It's been a culture in this House. You even notice when the report to determine whether this bill should be taken under certificate of urgency, I doubt even if we were 50 in the House was almost empty. Yeah. And I believe...
But the argument would be that you don't need those, essentially need a certain number of people there to just withdraw and relay.
Exactly. But the point, the reason I oppose this is this. I fear the push to get this done because of time may lead to a situation where we may rush and make some proposals that may not be far-reaching. Okay. I don't think minority is in any way opposed to updating our laws. Minority leader has already led the minority to throw our weight behind it. So let the public be aware. We are not against the law. We are just. I am saying this is me, not the minority, saying that the rush in which we need to take this through. He's right. He didn't. Nobody said we were going to do it even within a day. Okay. But once that window is open, there's a possibility we might do it in a day. So let's have a law that actually addresses the issue. And what an important law of national security I believe we needed a bit more time, and I can only fault the sponsors of the bill for not paying enough attention right from the beginning till now. Not the committee. The committee started working on it. Immediately it came to committee, and indeed they brought a report which is just to do with whether we should take it as a certificate of urgency. And once it comes to the floor, fortunately all of you are here. We'll see whether it will be done within a day or two. But I urge the public to take interest in this. It is not only about members of parliament. This is about our national security. And I know there are many stakeholders, some of who have met Honorable and his group already, have made proposals. I'm sure some of those proposals have already gotten into the bill. I also raised the issue that the new one that was laid, I haven't got a copy. It's not about the committee having a copy. The standing order says that immediately enough copies of a bill is ready, it can be laid. And so you need at least 275 copies before you lay it. And I haven't got my copy yet. That is all I was saying on the floor.
Concerns justified?
Very justified. If Kwame is very justified in his rights, that is the purpose of the People's Forum, Parliament. If we don't hear him out, we may err in the discharge of our duty. Rightly said, however, I'm sure by the time we started, he had a different position. And as we speak, his position will change. It will change based on knowledge. Kwame is very right when he talked about the subculture of the House here. But unfortunately, because of the principle of separation of powers, all of us form government, have three arms of government. Unfortunately or fortunately, we have to cooperate and enhance the rules of governance. So, more times, some of these things may be with the executive, and they may be trying to work at it and get it. For instance, because I belong to the Security Committee, I was privy to this matter as far back as 2017, that this amendment was enough and was coming to the House. 2017, it is in 2020 May that it is here with us. And we have a calendar we work with. One of the reasons why we are coming under certificate of urgency is that, like I said, we have 4 weeks to sit. If you gazette for 14 days, the whole 4 weeks is finished. You can't have 2 weeks to run this bill. At least the budget we run, the policy, financial policy statement of government, must have a minimum of 6 weeks cycle in this House. And so if we are doing one bill, and we'll do it in 2 weeks. We haven't done, and national security, we can't do it in 2 weeks. So if you look into the foundation of our seeking for urgency, we were doing this so that we could empower the Ministry of National Security to then move to the government press to gazette the bill. When it is being gazetted, then we'll be seized with the proper bill, and it will come in the shape and form of a bill that has gone through the government press. So that is what we are done today. So national security is now going to bring us the bill and ensure that by Monday members will receive copies of the printed bill. What we have is just the transmission communication from national security to the government press. So that was seized with committee. That is why it's based on that document that a committee met and determined
it was of urgent nature.
Okay. However, like Kwame said, the minority leader made useful points with us yesterday, and we as a committee were following the full hog of the legislative process to ensure that we've engaged stakeholders and ensure that we have the right thoughts before we come. And mind you, we are not going to go through this. That's why I said we are masters of our own rules. We are not going to run this bill. You can't run this bill in a day.
Yeah, but would there be room for consultations from other groups? Would that be done? Would that concern be captured?
That is the essence of Parliament. That is the essence of Article 106 of the Constitution. We would have to consult. We had already started consultation. We went into a conclave to discuss the national security strategy, which is part of this law we are making. One of the major concerns we are having is the counter-terrorism framework, which is, for me, a matter that we have to do. It's a strategy. All these things we need to be working out, because today in our sub-region and the Sahel, the region of the Sahel, we are under terrorist threat. I mean, you'll be surprised to see that some of our contiguous countries are really suffering from terrorism. And we as a people must ensure that we have prepared ourselves appropriately and adequately to make sure that Ghana and Ghanaians are safe to go about our normal chores, our daily work. This is why we want to get this thing done. And we want to ensure that, mind you, we are in a very serious season of our country. The pandemic is on us. We, by the current dispensation, have admitted that we would run a democracy. The democracy has set a timetable for us. So even as we are sleeping, we are watching the gate. Today, an exercise is going on. I'm sure we will be holding a conversation over that. So all these things put together, we need to tighten all the knots that strengthen our public safety. And for me, that is the essence of going to go into this matter. So it is not a matter of just running the bill through Parliament in a day. It is not the case. It is part of the embodiment of our report. Our emphasis for agency was to allow the technicality where we will have to go to the government press for 2 weeks, sit back and wait when the matter is already before us. But because we need to clean, we have to follow the procedure. And following the procedure, the rules allow us some room. Then I come quickly with our mantra, masters of our own rules. So we can take advantage of that rule and wash our hands and come and sit back so that we don't have any virus on our hands. We'll do the consultation.
Okay. Let's move to the second issue for discussion, which has got to do with the ongoing registration exercise. There have been various concerns, from allegations of busing people from constituencies to others. The latest one has got to do with, the Electoral Commission setting up registration centers in some schools, which this has been received from divergent point of views from both political parties. I want to find out from you, beginning with you, the Honorable Agoja, what do you make of the process so far, and what are the challenges that you think need, urgent resolution by the Electoral Commission to make the process acceptable to all the parties involved?
Duke, first of all, I still believe this whole exercise was needless, because we do have a voters register that is fit for purpose. That is not something I'm saying. The Electoral Commission themselves have attested to that. Myself and my colleague are members of Parliament, or are products of that, voters register. However, the New Patriotic Party is determined to have a new register. They claim there are people on that register that are not supposed to be here. But so they decided to come to Parliament and get a new law to govern the process. We can already see that process is not even a foolproof. We've seen people register twice in terms of Ghana card. We've seen foreigners holding that card in the name of Ghana. So fortunately, I was in a meeting when the EC chair came to the committee on special budget. And I was surprised when they said that even holding a Ghanaian passport is not total proof. You can still be challenged, because you can still get fake Ghanaian passport, you can still get fake Ghana card, so you can still be challenged. However, we thought it was inappropriate, so we went to court. I'm talking about my side of the political divide. We were totally disappointed by the ruling of the Supreme Court. Until today, I'm sure even lawyers can't make the head and tail out of what the ruling means in terms of Article 42 onwards. But guess what? That is the ruling. So we must go and register. You remember one of the points we made prior to that was that, first of all, apart from the cost, the time left for us, as he said, we are mandated by the Constitution to run an election by 7th of December. The time left and the processes we have to go through before the election, there wasn't enough time left. We were now going through, as of the time the EC was making all the argument, they haven't even procured the equipment we call the biometric registration kit They were not procured. But they consistently gave us false hope in terms of everything is ready. Everything is ready. Apart from the registration forms which were printed in country, everything else was coming from somewhere. So whilst it was important that we do this exercise in a very rushed manner, we had the misfortune of doing it within COVID, which means that the number of people that can go through the process has to be limited because of social distancing and other things.
But so far, the Electoral Commission seems to have been quite responsive in terms of, addressing concerns that have come up. I don't know how you would see that in terms of, engaging the public on what is happening, speaking to the concerns that various parties are raising. Is that not enough? Has the conversation not moved from the concerns that the minority or the NDC had up to this point where the process has already been rolled out?
Yes, no, they haven't addressed much of the thing. I'm just saying that we are where we are because the Supreme Court says they have to do it. Okay. Don't forget, they are saying that as of the time they told us that equipment, everything will be ready. Today, we are told we have a very limited number of kits. That is why we are doing the registration. For instance, at just 44 polling stations. We are only doing 4 within this period of time.
Which they'll move to another set.
But why do we have to do it like that? So, as a member of parliament, I am compelled, and my brother is also, I'm compelled to spend so much money and time going around places where in one town that has got 2 or 3 polling stations, they go and do only one registration center. Then they come back after 2 weeks or so to do another registration center there. It is not helpful to anybody. But for me, one concern I have is what I witnessed last weekend in a neighboring constituency like Agotime Ziofi. When the mindset, for instance, in the Volta region is that there are so many people in the Volta region who are not Ghanaians who have been registering. So the government pushed a lot of unmarked security operatives to the region, to the extent that last weekend a vehicle was impounded in Petwe, and then the NPP in the region decided to say that everybody on board was a Togolese who was coming to register illegally. What does the law even say about the registering? That when you go to the registration center, you either have to go with your Ghana card or passport or somebody vouch for you. Because the agents of the political parties there, if you don't have the card or you don't have the passport, they can challenge you. So these individuals were not caught on the border between Ghana and Togo. They were not even seen at a registration center. Yet they were arrested and put to the police station. I share border with that constituency. So I drove to the police station. I saw these people were over 60 years old. The explanation given to me made sense to me. These are elderly people and disabled people who needed to take advantage of the last day
and go to the office.
Exactly. Now, the police arrested these people, one of them who served a decade in the Ghana Armed Forces and was holding even his Ghanaian passport expired though, he was also arrested. And I'm asking, if serving the Ghana Armed Forces for years and a proof of it in a passport is not enough, what will be the basis for this? But at the end of the day, we had a discussion with our colleagues, and they realized that it was a mistake. So as I speak to you, all those individuals, except the military officer who is blind, have registered. And for me, the pushback, the mindset that, these people are not Ghanaians. Look, in Adaklu, a significant number of people are Fulanis. They are settlers. Yeah. Some of them have been there before I was born. They are even older than my father. Out of that, their main business is rearing cattle. Because of that, myself and Assembly invested money to build something we call cattle market. So every Thursday, there's a cattle market, a booming one in Adaklu, that generates revenue to the Assembly. These people are known. When they come and form queue to register, you call them Fulani. So they are not decent. And the same people were gathered in 2016 and appealed to by our second lady, because the pictures were there, and to appeal to them, your Ghanaians try and vote in 2016, whether they voted or not, I don't know. So but
do they have the source documents? Are they being challenged unfairly?
Yes,
Is that your
yeah.
contention?
In fact, some of them are not even allowed to register. And I think that nobody is worried about this. Well, our concerns, half of it was not dealt with. The Supreme Court disappointed us. Today, let's face the listen. We are disappointed in the Electoral Commission for not making adequate preparation. The kits are not available, yet they pushed forward. And now we've passed a law, which means the old register, if there was supposed to be election today, we can't use it. So for us, that is where we are. And a little bit of skirmishes that leading to physical assault on people. Why should a right to exercise under Article 42 be a fight between me and my brother? If I'm a Ghanaian, he's a Ghanaian, go and register. You can make your choice on the day of the election. And I think for me, those are the little things that I find very unhealthy.
Most of the issues that Honorable, your colleague has raised has got to do with security forces and how they are being deployed. This is an age-old issue, at least within this period within Parliament. This is not the first time it has been raised. First of all, what are your own, the issues that you may have with the registration process so far, and what would be your take on the deployment of security forces in these areas, as has been alluded to by your colleague?
Thank you very much. I think when Kwame was speaking, he said the MPP was bent on doing a register. It is the Electoral Commission who is doing the register. It is not MPP. For expediency, they always say it's MPP, it's not MPP. It's the Electoral Commission that has decided it wants to do that. However, we in the MPP supported this because we've been at it since the last 8 years. And I remember last 8 years, I spoke like the way Kwame is speaking now. When we had to go through the first biometric exercise in a cluster as it's being deployed today. Typically, I don't expect Kwame to sit and fold his arms because he's a major contestant, he's a major competitor. And so for me, this is it. But my worry is the mistrust within the two political parties. And this goes down to hurt the system on the ground.
But is it something that the political elite, the politicals you have created? Is it not something that you have created to deliberately have some form of mistrust?
It is not necessarily a political elite conversation. It's about our appreciation of ourselves as a people.
Okay.
We have to understand, and like Kwame said, if I ever worked in any jurisdiction out of Ghana and the laws of that land permitted that my children may be born there and they are born and they hold citizenship there, they have the opportunity to exercise these rights given the time as they mature. And so if our laws permit, people go through it. That is why we keep amending and reviewing laws in this house. Okay. So it is how we educate our people and get them to appreciate that in this democracy, we all have to know that we work with laws. Okay. The rule of law is the underlying principle. If we get it right, we get it right. There's no way I'll fight Abuja sitting here. I don't see why I have to fight him. I can express a different opinion to a point he raises.
Yeah.
But the underlying principle is that we are Ghanaians. He seeks Ghana's interest as much as I seek Ghana's interest. So when we agree to go forward, we must do it. For instance, in the Supreme Court matter of 2013 on the presidential dispute, in as much as Kwame says the Supreme Court disappointed NDC, I will not say the Supreme Court disappointed me. I think they spoke the law. When they speak the law, we have our opinion. And our opinion is rare. When they decided that we lost the case in court, I wasn't happy. But I had to pursue what the Supreme Court had decided. Because we, as a people, through the referendum in 1992, admitted that we will govern this country under a democratic system. And so these are some of the give and takes we are going to come across with.
The matter of the security deployment of the security issues
in our system. If we have enacted a vigilante bill here, if we, the competitors, we disabuse our minds of such practices where we want to manage our own security, these are going to be the problems. Some of these instances Kwame cited are a bit and very unfortunate. But it happens because we dwell on a lot of rumor and perception in this enterprise. So there are a lot of rumors flying around. And if you don't take care and do proper analysis, you will always err. So saddening that it ended up as Kwame has narrated. But for me, the best is everybody who is of the age that needs to be captured by the register must be allowed to do so freely as part of his right enshrined in our Constitution. And that is the only way we have to go about it.
Another issue this week, which may not have directly emanated from Parliament, but it's part of the political process, has got to do with your party, the NDC, the flag bearer candidate, John Mahama, choosing Professor Naana Opoku-Agyemang, who was education minister under the Mahama regime as chairman, as running mate, for the 2020 ticket of the NDC. First of all, what do you make of the choice and the issues that have come up so far regarding what the caliber of person she is and what the record and the kind of value she brings to the NDC ticket going to the 2020 election?
Well, thank you very much, Duke. Fortunately, the Constitution and the Honorable Chair Mensah Opoku always reminds us, for instance, when we are vetting ministerial nominations in this House, that the Constitution only says the person should be somebody who qualifies to be an MP. And then he goes on and on and on. And so he asks, if the person is an MP and is nominated, what are we here doing? Unless there's a major issue which is not known in the past. Now, constitutionally, the presidential candidates must nominate who partners them, because obviously you need somebody who should help you do your work. Yeah. I was surprised to note that for instance, in America, the candidates haven't even nominated their deputies, their vices yet. Well, meanwhile, their elections are going to be in November ahead of us. But it's a big deal in Ghana that you must, now that you realize the nomination of the vice presidential candidates are over, it's going to be your manifesto. What do I make of the nomination of Professor Naana Opoku-Agyemang? I think it is a very momentous point in our country. Not that a woman has never been nominated as a running mate, but we all know that the probability of a party winning an election in December, whether the NDC or NPP, because even in advanced democracies, after a period of time, things settle down. Yeah. So you're either this or that.
So there's a certain duopoly that comes up.
Yeah. The lady in question, we all know, has served this country in various capacities. And she excelled herself as an educator. I can imagine how many people she taught who are better people than me sitting here. So those people will be proud of her. I can easily tell my daughter, who I love so much, that I wish you grow up to be like Professor Naana Opoku-Agyemang. Why? Because she's got a sterling career, and as a lady, my daughter can feel that if she can be the vice president, I can also be that. If she can be a university professor, as somebody who managed a university, then I can do that. What is the significance of this? Well, the significance is that the NDC and maybe all other parties noticing that there has been a global push for further opening of the space, especially the political space, for women to operate. Why? Because the kind of things myself and my brother go through as men, I mean, I have no idea what my daughter ate today, because I think somebody else's job is to do that. So it's not easy for women to get into the political track and fight their way through. So naturally, we need to provide some level of opening for them. The Professor Naana Opoku didn't need to be helped. She's done all that by herself. So I think the President Mahama's confidence in the women folk of this country to decide that we can have a lady, a woman, a professor of that matter to partner him is a very, very, very good decision. It opens the door for many other things to happen in our country. For once, there's a chance that there will be a lady at the seat of government, at least at this stage, as a vice president. There's a possibility. And you will never know, like majority leader said. We've seen situations in this country before. I have every confidence that if I look at, without being demeaning, if myself, yourself, Kwame, can be the president of this country. That is the truth, because we have attained the age that the Constitution says. We haven't got any mental problem that anybody knows about. We are not in jail, so constitutionally we qualify. I am sure Professor Naana Opoku qualifies more than all of us. And let's face it, the current president, President Mahama, and then the current vice president, if it comes to achievements in their lives, proud to becoming vice president and president, there's no doubt that Professor Naana Opoku-Agyemang has done more mileage.
Well, that's arguable. I know he will not agree with you, but
yes,
of course,
yes,
that's the point you have to
make. And for me, the women of this country shouldn't see this as an NDC enterprise, but a new chapter in the life of our country.
The Honourable Sete Champong.
Yes, my brother.
The Honourable Agboja has alluded to the qualities that the Honourable Professor Naana Opoku-Agyemang brings to the NDC ticket for the 2020 election. What will be your own take on this choice by President Mahama?
First and foremost, we need to establish the ground rules. Professor Naana Opoku-Agyemang is not new in our political environment. So, for me, it's no news. It is news when she was a fresh person when NDC introduced Professor John Evans Atamils the late. Yes. He was a public servant. But Naana Opoku-Agyemang is the immediate past Minister of Education. She is in our body politic already. So NDC is trying to push women forward, as we've been doing already. Because I listened to the debate, and I'm happy listening to Kwame push her candidates. That's the way the argument should go. And he tried to get women to appreciate that. And that is the argument we're going to make, at least in our tradition. The first Chief Justice of this land, as a woman, we, in the tradition MPP, brought some to this country. So when it comes to considering women in the frontiers of public governance, the Vice President is not a president. The Vice President is not on the ballot paper. The person who's going to be on the ballot paper is His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, the former President of the Republic, President Mahama. It's not the Vice President. It's not a Vice President. The argument is not that. Yeah. We are talking about pushing women in the frontiers of our body politic. The Chief Justice, today, the first time in the history of this Republic, the Chief Public Servant of His Excellency, the President of the Republic, is a female, our colleague that I sat in this chamber with, Madame Frima Opare, is the Chief of Staff of this Republic that is putting women in the frontiers of our body politic. In this chamber, the majority leadership has a female as a deputy leader, pushing women in the frontiers of our body
The
politic.
argument will still be made that that's not equal the vice presidential slot.
You are talking about leadership. The vice presidential slot is leadership, isn't it?
It is.
We're talking about frontiers of leadership. I wouldn't want to box myself into that argument that we were first to bring a woman to be a vice presidential candidate. It defeats the principle, because it is not the only political party that has decided to raise a female as a running mate to a front runner. And so when I listened to that argument, it fell flat before me. But I'm gladdened that Kwame is said today on this set that it is not a matter of having a female vice president, but it's a matter of getting women to be involved in our body politic. And that's why I said, for me, it will be no new, because Naana is already known in our body politic. And so it is welcome news that NDC is also doing very well by upping the game in bringing her to that level of being a running mate to the candidate. And so it is no news. We should not debate that. We should go into the meet to see what we'll be receiving. And like Kwame did very well by categorizing their various achievements in life. Yes, by Kwame's assessment, Naana would have achieved a lot. By my assessment, President Akufo-Addo, since his entrance into the body politic of this country, he's reported overly in his profession, in the Ghana Law Reports. One of the most reported personalities. And that is his chosen profession. Naana chose to be in academia. And so I give her the respect in that right. His Excellency, the Vice President, if we're discussing running mates, very astute economist, not only in Ghana, not only with Bank of Ghana, in the classroom as an academic, back in practice with Bank of Ghana, gone to work for IMF, held country reps. That is a huge stature, a huge resume. Partnered the current president for 8 solid years in opposition, to be in his 12th year as a partner for another major election. Hey, this is a huge resume you can't put on the back burner. It's a huge matter on the front burner. He qualifies to be a president of the land. Very much so. Well experienced. So this is the conversation we should be holding. We should be looking at the characters when they are left in the saddle. How would they fare? And that is what we should ask.
Okay, so that's how we would wrap up this segment of the program from the floor. I had with me the Honourable Member of Parliament for Adaklu. It's the Honourable Kwame Governs Abuja. He's also ranking member on the Transport Committee, Road and Transport Committee of Parliament. You see, very, very, very wonderful colleagues, but when the argument starts, you think that they are from. But that's the beauty of what is done here. And also I had with me the Honourable Seth Kwame Champon, Member of Parliament from Praia, so he's Chairman of the Defence and Interior Committee of Parliament. And thank you also for doing the watching. We'll take a break. When I come back, there is more on the chamber.
The conversations that help you shape your spiritual journey as a Christian. Find the answers you seek. Catch the 700 Club with Pat Robertson every Sunday morning at 8:30 a.m. on City TV.
Hello and welcome back from the break. This is Duke's View right here on the chamber. The National Security and Intelligence Agency's bill was laid in Parliament this week. Of course, earlier on it was withdrawn by the majority leader, citing all sorts of issues with the bill. But a new one has been laid and it's going to be taken through a certificate of urgency. But the point is this: security most of the time in this country is shrouded in secrecy, and a lot of opacity, if I may put it that way. But that is, something that runs across everywhere in the world. Security issues are very sensitive matters that are not, really open to the minds of the general public. But this is the point that I want to make. It is very important that during policy formulation and the lawmaking process, citizens have a take, or citizens have their say in what goes to become the final law that will be used in governing people. The National Security and Intelligence Agencies Bill is one such law, or is one such bill that is being crafted. Many are of the view that the national security agencies and the various mechanisms that are put in place in the country to run the national security apparatus is shrouded in a lot of secrecy, which gives people room to do all sorts of things. I think that this bill, or this piece of legislation, gives Parliament the opportunity to make a far-reaching law, or a far-reaching legislation that will guide a very, very important aspect of our national life, which is security. It is going to go through a certificate of urgency, but the committee, the Defense and Interior Committee, which is the committee that is concerned with this matter or sees with this matter, must ensure that all inputs are taken from civil society, from citizens, to ensure that the bill or the law that will come out at the end of the day is one that really speaks to the issues of security, especially in this global setting that we have, where all sorts of new things are emerging, all sorts of new security threats, from terrorism to even COVID-19, which is a global security matter. All that issue will be looked at in a manner that will be far-reaching, so that in the long run, the country would be better with this piece of legislation that is being put in place. Second issue I want to talk about has got to do with the choice of the running mate for the NDC ticket for the 2020 election. Of course, it's not something that really borders on the lawmaking function of Parliament directly, but it's something that members of Parliament have had cause to speak to this week, in the course of the week, or the course of the parliamentary week in which we are having. Well, the point to be made is this. I think that the choice is one that is good for our democracy, for our democratic dispensation, because at the end of the day, the voice of women, or the female, gender, or the gender that is female is being put at the core of, the ticket. That is what we've been told from the NDC. But it is important that this campaign is made a campaign based on issues. A campaign based on issues, not because of gender, not because of where the person is coming from, not because of the gender essentially, but will be a contest of ideas and a contest of issues. What is the person bringing to the ticket? What is the incumbent government bringing to the ticket? What are the issues that will be brought about to move the development of the country to the level that everybody seeks to push the country to? Those are the issues that should concern our political elite and our politicians as we go into this election. All sorts of comments have come up from this running mate issue, from the opposition side, from the government side, others saying, raising issues of competence, raising issues of gender, whether this person is good, whether that person is good, whether the person has what it takes, to move the country. But at the end of the day, it's a developmental question that needs to be answered. The question of development that needs to be answered. Which ticket will push the issues of development in the country to the next level? That should be the baseline for assessing whether this person is good for the running mate slot or not. Same with the MPP. It is our prayer and our hope on this platform that the 2020 election will be a contest of ideas. And if there's anything that we would say that the choice is good, because, the good old professor has shown that when it comes to engagement on issues, she is good at that. The vice president has also shown that when it comes to engagement on issues, albeit the vice president is good with the economics, Professor Naana Opoku-Agyemang is in the field of education. But what both persons have shown is that when it comes to the matter of issues and engaging on the intellectual level, they can do that. Hopefully this set of persons that we have would move the conversation from the trivial things about who is wearing what, or who is saying what, or who can do what, to the real issues that border on the interest, that border on the national interest, on the interest of Ghanaians, and will push the developmental question further. That's my view for the week. And that's how we wrap up Chamber this week on City TV. Keep watching City TV for the best of our programming.